Welcome, everyone, to the Mark Warsh Show. I'm your host, Mark Warsh, and I'm here to break down the latest newsworthy stories. Let's start off with the footage released by Tucker Carlson of Jacob Chansley, also known as the QAnon shaman, walking through the halls of the Capitol building with two Capitol police officers. This footage has been described as shocking and has caused a stir as it casts doubt on the government's narrative of what happened on January 6th. Meta, the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, is planning to lay off thousands of employees. This raises serious questions about how San Francisco will handle the massive increase in sidewalk poop. And finally, the FBI director recently raised concerns about TikTok in a U.S. Senate hearing. This has sparked debates about data privacy issues and inappropriate content. So let's dive into all of this and more on today's show. Democrats have been warning that anyone watching unedited footage from January 6th could arrive at their own conclusions. This, of course, is a threat to democracy. But Tucker Carlson was determined to get to the truth and released footage of Jacob Chansley, also known as the QAnon shaman, walking through the halls of the Capitol building with two Capitol police officers. This footage was described as shocking and caused quite a stir. Chansley's former attorney claimed that the government chose not to disclose exculpatory evidence to Chansley that was later aired by Carlson. In the footage, Chansley can be seen walking calmly through the halls with the two officers while one of them takes the lead, attempts to open a door or elevator, and then turns to lead Chansley in another direction. Chansley became a prominent figure in the aftermath of the media coverage when he was photographed in the Senate chamber wearing a horned headdress and carrying a spear. He was subsequently arrested and charged with several crimes, including violent entry and disorderly conduct on Capitol grounds. The release of this footage by Carlson has led to further discussions and debates surrounding the events of January 6th, the involvement of law enforcement officers, and the actions of those who participated in the guided tour. The claims made by Chansley's former attorney regarding the withholding of evidence by the government have also added a new layer to the ongoing investigation into the events of that day. Tucker Carlson's release of these videos is demolishing the false narrative that has been fabricated by the January 6th Commission and propaganda pushed by the media. But some in the government refuse to give up their lies, as current Attorney General Merrick Garland repeated these lies about the events on January 6th. Garland made a false statement by claiming that the riot resulted in 5 deaths, including a Capitol police officer, when fact-checkers have called bullshit on Garland's statement, noting that only one person died as a result of the riot, Ashley Babbitt, who was shot by a Capitol police officer. Tucker's broadcasts show how important it is for all of the footage from January 6th to be released so we can draw our own conclusions. This glimpse into the full story has enraged some, but Americans deserve to know the truth, and that includes the whole truth. The real threat to our republic is the fact that representatives are willing and able to abuse their government positions in order to demonize their political opposition. Wake up, folks. Just weeks after cutting 11,000 jobs, Meta, the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, is planning to lay off thousands more employees as part of CEO Mark Zuckerberg's plan to make 2023 the year of efficiency and to streamline the company's operations. The exact number of job cuts has not been officially announced yet, but reports indicate that it could be in the thousands. The layoffs come as Meta faces growing competition in the social media space from companies like TikTok and Snapchat. The company has also been under increased scrutiny from regulators around the world over issues related to privacy, misinformation, and anti-competitive practices. Zuckerberg's new flattening policy is aimed at getting rid of middle managers who are deemed to be standing in the way of the company being more nimble and productive. This policy is part of a broader effort to make the company more agile and responsive to changing market conditions. Meta has been struggling to keep up with the rapid pace of innovation in the tech industry and is looking to make strategic changes in order to stay ahead of the competition. The job cuts are likely to have a significant impact on the affected censorship communists and cat lady populations of the West Coast, many of whom may find themselves out of work and without a safety net. This raises serious questions about how these individuals will be able to support themselves and their families, as well as what will happen to their livelihoods going forward. These layoffs also raise questions about how Meta plans to handle its data privacy issues going forward, as well as how it will address its anti-competitive practices. It remains to be seen whether or not these layoffs will be enough for the company to regain its footing in the tech industry, or if it will continue to struggle against its competitors. FBI Director Christopher Wray recently raised concerns about TikTok, a popular social media app owned by China, in a U.S. Senate hearing. According to Ray, the Chinese government could potentially use TikTok to control data on millions of American users. He stated that the app screams of U.S. national security concerns. This is not the first time that the FBI has raised concerns about TikTok. In November 2022, Ray also flagged the national security risks posed by the app's U.S. operations. The specific concerns relate to the app's ownership by a Chinese company, ByteDance, which has been known to require companies to provide them with access to user data. TikTok has denied any allegations of improper data handling or providing user data to the Chinese government. The company has also claimed that its U.S. operations are independent and not subject to Chinese influence. But despite these claims, TikTok has faced scrutiny from lawmakers and government agencies who are not in the back pocket of Xi Jinping. In 2020, former President Donald Trump attempted to ban the app over national security concerns, although the ban was ultimately blocked by courts. This begs the question, what is it about TikTok that has U.S. officials so concerned? Let's compare and contrast TikTok in China versus the U.S. Content on TikTok in China tends to be patriotic, educational, and focused on health and wellness, emphasizing the country's culture, history, and achievements. In contrast, content on TikTok in the United States is known for its ease of access to inappropriate content, including sexual content pushed to children. It has also been accused of promoting dangerous challenges such as the Tide Pod Challenge and the Skull Breaker Challenge, which have resulted in serious injuries for some participants. The bottom line is this: if the Chinese government is able to access user data on millions of American users through TikTok, then U.S. citizens should be rightfully concerned about their privacy and safety. The American people deserve to know what is really going on behind closed doors at ByteDance. And it's time for our government officials actually do their job and get to the bottom of this issue. CNN recently aired a primetime special featuring First Lady Jill Biden, but it ended up being a ratings disaster. According to Fox News, the show called Jill Biden Abroad lost nearly half of CNN's average viewership, shedding a whopping 43% of its audience. The program reportedly only managed to attract a paltry 368,000 total viewers compared to CNN's usual average of 650,000 viewers for the same time slot. Despite the anticipation surrounding the program due to the presence of the First Lady, it ultimately failed to captivate viewers, and many have attributed this lack of interest to CNN's ongoing decline in viewership in recent years. The network has been without a permanent 9 p.m. host since Chris Cuomo left and has been filled with a rotating cast of temporary hosts. This latest ratings failure comes at a time when CNN is already facing numerous challenges, including a lack of diversity among its anchors and a decline in trust among viewers due to its perceived left-leaning bias. It also raises questions about whether or not the network will be able to turn things around anytime soon, especially with its latest misstep involving First Lady Jill Biden's show. During her speech on the show, Jill Biden deflected a call for her husband Joe Biden to take a cognitive evaluation test by calling it ridiculous, which raises questions about why CNN chose not to address this gaffe or any other critiques made by her during her speech. The Department of Justice has also failed to comment on whether or not an elderly abuse case will move forward despite mounting evidence, which further raises questions about how much CNN is willing to cover up for their guests. It's clear that CNN needs to do better when it comes to holding their guests accountable for their actions and words, and that they need to start taking their viewers more seriously if they want to stay relevant in today's media landscape. Thanks for joining me on the Mark Warsh Show. I hope you found this episode informative and entertaining. If you like this content, come join me on social media and keep up with all of my latest insights and opinions.